Hello everyone. In this video we're going to talk about the concept of open skirt. The concept of open skirt, the name of open skirt, comes actually from the Japanese term Susoaki. I'm guessing the person who came to the translation was having quite some fun, because the literal translation would be something more like opening at the hem, or like a hem gap. The open skirt concept means when you have a territory, it can be open on one or both sides. In that specific example, you can see that black would be able to jump on the second line on the left. White could, if it wants to, block. And so we're going to study if it's interesting to block, when you should block, if you're white, or should you expand your territory, your side even more. If you are black, should you reduce right away? Should you reduce on the top, from the bottom? Should you invade? What are all the keys? What are all the shape points? Now let's jump into the second situation I want to show you, which comes from this very famous shimmery Susoaki. This big shimmery, black attaches. You have this hane, this cut, and you end up with this situation. If you want to have details about this specific shimmery, Go Magic has actually a lot of video about it. Some people might actually be wondering, why is black not blocking on this side? It feels quite big. Then again, you would just have a wall facing a Oshi, a star point on the other side, but the gap between the two is huge, and white would have absolutely no problem coming in between and destroying everything. Or white could even use a more modern approach, which is to peep first and to play, for example, a move like this. And suddenly that wall turned more like into a baguette, and that baguette might even suffer later on. Obviously, that baguette is quite strong, and you might even end up also attacking the white stones, but you have to remember that also white got a very large amount of territory on the left, and so you do need a fairly big compensation regarding the influence, which is why black is not blocking right away, but black is taking the big point, the side star point. And now the same question as the previous position might come up: should white jump straight in? Well, here is clearly not the biggest move. When you look how open the board is, should you really end up playing a move on the second line? Well, I can think about this move being bigger. I can think about any move here being bigger. Or like even playing a sunrise, who knows? But clearly, what you are destroying here is not big enough. If you imagine something like this, and all you can get at the end is, for example, those 4 stones, it's really not big enough, and black would have taken many other big moves here. Because here, like, all white got is just points. Big points, that's for sure, but just points. So now, if you are white, you might wonder, okay, so how am I supposed to attack this group? Well, the first answer would be, don't do it right now. If I'm white, I can imagine other big moves on the board, such as entering the corner or approaching any of the Hoshi. Basically, playing on the right side would be more than enough. If you would like to approach this black wall, then you have to do it in a more active way. Again, a very modern way would be to simply play here. If black just plays here, then now you could actually jump right now. If black tries to cut you off, then you would be able to also jump, and now again you have the return of the baguette. And nobody wants the baguette, except the French, which I am. So of course black could also try to answer in a more dynamic way. For example, black could be like, okay, I don't care, take my 4 stones. But of course, you're not forced to take the 4 stones now. You might just play a big move on the board, or you might jump on the third line. And if black plays here, you might again just play elsewhere, because you know that now you have a cut. So already this probing move can be quite annoying. Usually black would answer in several ways. Black can actually just connect, black can jump right here, black can also jump like this. There are many ways of answering. The main point is that this is an annoying move for black, which actually is why I was a bit surprised by this move. Technically, black should play here. That it avoids this move being so annoying, but obviously This is a 9p game, so who am I to judge? This also, of course, makes complete sense. So again, you can see this very important concept of you start reducing from the top and then from the bottom. So here you would rather start from here than from here. Obviously, as I said again, you might also just play Tenuki right now because the board is very, very open and there are plenty of bigger options than just starting to poke at the black wall. I wanted now to show you this situation. As you can see, the same Susoaki happened on the top side, and now it's white to play. Here you can see that white got the extension at the top, so it would be fairly reasonable for white to block on the second line, because now you have nothing to worry about some weird invasion very deep, because you have both the extension, the wall, and the other part of the group, which is on the right side. So would you play it now? Would you play something else? Well, here, for example, again, you have to apply the same principle. In the game, white played here, because again, it's the border of the two moyo. If black were, for example, to play something here, and white is trying to reduce, in the meantime, black can also build something quite big, and both moyo would be fairly even, but black has more territory. If now you think about playing this one first, and black starts to get jealous, and for example, reduces now, well, you could still play a very big move around here. You might even start actually attacking this stone, and suddenly the balance of points and of territory has shifted, but it's much more dynamic for white. And now, to show you a more advanced situation of this same game, here you can see that the game has developed a lot. There was some fighting. White indeed got in the left territory, and it's black to play. And as you can see, the white territory at the top can hardly make any more developments. And so finally, black decided to jump right here, because now there's not much more to do for black in the center, in any other part of the board, and finally this move will be able to be sente. You will reduce white, because again, now it will be very difficult for white to play anything else. If white starts playing a big move, now all white points will disappear, because again, there is no potential in the center. So in that situation, yes, indeed, white has to answer, try to defend the few points that's on top. And now to conclude this second situation, here you can see that white is building a very big potential on the right side. And that's black's turn. Well, here actually black has a few options. Black would double pincer on the bottom left. Black would continue the attack on the white stone on the top left. Or black would do something on the right side. And I think this situation where there is so many big moves really highlights even more how now playing here will be very, very small when you compare to white now being able to answer here, or white now being able to answer here. And like those moves are much bigger, because again, what is the follow-up for black locally? Not much. So in that game, black again followed the same principle, reducing from above, and also in the meantime making a probing move. And so black played this one, white answers, and now black comes back here. It is finally only much, much later than white now decided that there was no other big area to fight or no other big points. And finally, white came back and blocked on the second line. Because now white cannot really expand much more in the center. Also because in that specific case, there was some very big agi. For example, let's say white would capture here. Black would be able to play such moves that would reduce even more this territory, and that would be quite dangerous. So in that specific case, and also because it is coupled with reading, white decides to simply block like this. So that's it for today's video. I hope you got to understand the main concept that comes from the open skirt. Namely, I would say two of them are really important to remember. First of all, the fact that when you are facing a big moyo, you first want to reduce from the top and then reduce from the bottom, or let's say from the sides. And the other one is the double reduction, meaning that a move that will increase your potential and decrease your opponent's potential is usually very valuable, and of course the same goes for your opponent. And often that specific move is the same for both players. As I mentioned in this video, we only went over two very modern examples, but it can really apply to pretty much anything of the sort. I do hope that you got to understand those specific situations a bit more, that you will be able to apply those concepts in the future, and see you for the next video.
By the way, you can also watch these lessons on our platform, gomagic.org. Except there, you'll watch them with interactive quizzes right within the lessons and practical exercises right after them. And if you enjoy watching these Go videos and you don't want to miss others like this one, go smash that like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and this is Go Magic.